We've got a really interesting one teed up today. We're going to be cracking open an analysis of a specific film. It's by a director you probably know. And we're trying to figure out why this film, this particular one, is seen as, well, absolutely essential to understanding how he evolved as an artist.
That's right. We're diving deep into Woody Allen today, and specifically focusing on his 1980 film Stardust Memories.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission, based on the material we've got here, is to understand why this film, which, let's be honest, was pretty challenging and confused a lot of people at first, why it's now seen as such a key moment.
A pivotal moment, yeah.
Both for Allen himself and maybe for cinema history more broadly. We're pulling insights straight from an analysis that really breaks down its style, the context it came out in, and its surprising legacy over time.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is how Stardust Memories just represents such a massive shift for him. You know, think about what came right before.
Annie Hall, Manhattan.
Yeah.
Huge hits.
Exactly. Witty, smart, intellectual comedies. Very popular, this film. It's just a radical jump. Much darker, more existential, definitely reflective.
And kind of raw, maybe.
Yeah, quite raw is a good way to put it.
And this analysis we're looking at, it doesn't really pull any punches. It calls the film an audacious and radical manifestation of themes he always explored, but maybe presented in their most direct state.
What kind of themes are we talking about?
Well, things like the fragility of love, that deep existential angst, the impossibility of finding true happiness, that really complicated relationship between art and the artist, feeling like life is meaningless, the passage of time, and this really ironic look at fame itself.
Which, raises this big question that the analysis tackles head on. Is this purely fiction, or is it some kind of deliberately distorted self-portrait?
Right.
And the material, it strongly argues it's more the latter, sort of an artistic confession, but wrapped up in satire. The main character, Sandy Bates, he's this filmmaker just swamped.
By what?
Demanding fans, really harsh critics, his personal life's a mess, professional crises. The parallels to Allen's own situation back then were almost uncomfortably clear.
So it's like he wasn't just making a film, he was almost filming his own struggle with being a filmmaker and being famous. Is that it?
Exactly. That's how the analysis presents it. He's putting that internal chaos right up there on the screen for everyone to see.
Okay.
And visually, it's incredibly striking, too. The source material really highlights the strong homage to European cinema, specifically Fellini.
8.5. Yeah, you can definitely see that.
Totally.
That makes sense when you watch it. The choice to shoot in black and white, those really intricate, almost Baroque kinds of shots, the way the film cuts sometimes feel fragmented, and just that overall dreamlike feeling, it really moves away from standard realism, doesn't it?
It does. It feels much more poetic, and Gordon Willis's cinematography is crucial there, using those really intense black and white contrasts. And here's where it gets, really interesting when you think about how innovative it was. The film's structure is incredibly nonlinear.
Yeah, it jumps around a lot.
It really does. It's like a collage, memories, fantasies, reality, all shifting around. And the analysis points out that this technique, this fragmenting of the story and structure, it actually anticipates methods that became much more common decades later.
In postmodern cinema, yeah.
Exactly.
And it keeps making you aware you're watching a film, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like characters break the fourth wall, the film questions its own meaning. That's self-awareness.
Meta-narrative.
Right, meta-narrative. It really challenges you as a viewer. And the audience inside the film, they're often shown as being, kind of difficult.
Oh, absolutely. Remember that famous line the analysis mentions?
I like your earlier films, they were funnier.
That's the one. And that line almost became shorthand for how the real audience reacted at first.
Which takes us to how it was originally received.
Yeah.
Because the analysis confirms, it was widely panned by a lot of critics.
Yeah.
And it just didn't land well with the American public. It felt too heavy, maybe too pessimistic, too focused on Allen's own perceived problems.
Like he was complaining about his own success, maybe?
Or even lecturing his own fans, perhaps.
Yeah, that was a criticism.
Yeah.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture now, that initial confusion, even rejection, it's actually part of the film's story today. Because over time, Stardust Memories has been, dramatically reevaluated.
Right.
It's often seen now as one of Allen's bravest works, an incredibly honest, creative exercise, and a really complex look at that modern artist's dilemma.
And other filmmakers picked up on it.
Oh, yeah. Directors like Noah Baumbach, Charlie Kaufman, Greta Gerwig, they've all acknowledged its influence. Even critics who initially dismissed it, like Roger Ebert. They revisited it years later
It changed their mind.
and recognized it as, yeah, a key piece for understanding Alan's whole creative journey.
So what does this all mean for you listening to this deep dive into the analysis? It really shows us that Stardust Memories, it's far from being some minor film in his career.
Yeah. Not at all.
It's actually a crucial landmark. It shows Woody Allen making this really uncomfortable shift, from being the beloved comic filmmaker to someone exploring much deeper, more philosophical territory.
And it puts that universal struggle of the artist right there on screen. That tension between the need to create something true and the pressure to please an audience.
The ego versus the need for real human connection.
Exactly, that whole battle.
It was definitely a work that wasn't trying to offer easy comfort or simple answers. It chose instead to ask some deeply uncomfortable questions.
About life, about art, about the whole creative process itself, yeah.
And ultimately, the source material argues the film shows us something really essential about art itself. That maybe in its apparent chaos, even its sometimes jarring messiness, Stardust Memories reveals a kind of truth. Perhaps art is often the only space where the beautiful, bewildering chaos of life can actually find some kind of recognizable form.
That's a powerful idea.
Yeah, that's the provocative thought to kind of leave you with. The film doesn't try to fix the messiness of life, but it gives it shape, something to ponder, maybe, when you think about why any artist creates, especially when the work feels difficult or challenging.